What's going on, you guys? Long anticipated review for this attachment you guys have been asking about, and that is the Total Gym foam roller. I'll go over my thoughts on the product, I'll talk about how to use it and general tips on foam rolling or myofascial release in general. And then I'll talk about if this thing is actually worth it for the $99 price tag. Put a link in the description box if you guys do want to check it out and support the channel. But as always, please, if you guys do find this video helpful, please consider liking and or subscribing. Out of the box impressions of this thing were that it was definitely well made, seems really sturdy, really durable. As with most Total Gym products, they always seem like they're really well made. This one, I guess, is a little more surprising in the sense that it seemed like it was a pretty big box or a little bit bigger unit. I kind of expect it to be a little more heavy. It actually seemed pretty light considering just how well made the metalling was on this thing. The actual roller itself is a little bit denser and kind of harder than I maybe anticipated, but I think it's actually definitely a good thing. It's not really squishy at all. It's not foamy at all. I think you actually would like something like this, something that's really hard and dense and firm to really get the most out of this, especially when you kind of be utilizing the various inclines of the machine. The roller itself is really smooth, and as you guys can see here at the bottom, you actually can adjust the pins to make it higher or lower to even increase its suitability for your needs. Comes with a little paper insert for some of the stretches and ways you can utilize the machine if that may or may not be helpful to you. Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw this thing, even when I first got it, I really wasn't expecting that much. I thought this thing would be kind of cool. I kind of had really low expectations on kind of its overall effective use on just foam rolling in general. I thought it might feel good on certain positions, but really I thought that was about it. But after doing these exercises, as you guys can see here, I felt super relaxed, really good, even more so compared to when I do traditional foam rolling. A really simplistic and basic way of approaching foam rolling is just thinking about it as another form of stretching, where in traditional stretching, we think of like lengthening a muscle to kind of elongate it and kind of relax it. With foam rolling, we're kind of utilizing the principles of a Swedish massage, where we kind of really want to relax the muscle, but then we're relaxing it further by really applying a direct pressure onto the muscle or tissue or fascia. So in order to really do that, we don't want to necessarily do is just kind of roll up and down the muscle, not really thinking about it with the muscle kind of tense. We really want to relax as much as we can and kind of really give as much direct pressure to a certain area. Yes, you can go do some like subtle rolls and that can be beneficial as well. But the main thing to think about is within like a pain scale of like 1 to 10, you want to be like maybe like an 8 or so as far as level of discomfort, but that's kind of up to you to really maximize the amount of pressure you can handle on a certain area. And just to kind of preface and start of what really kind of surprised me as I started doing these movements was just how effective it was to really utilize that incline, not just the incline of the Total Gym, but also the glide board itself, kind of gliding back and forth into certain positions. What's really useful about this attachment is the fact that it has these little handles at the end. I really kind of maximize that for a number of different things, kind of pushing and pulling myself into certain positions or kind of rocking myself into positions, not just with my hands, but also with my feet at times. And all this together really gave you just a lot more options to either decrease pressure on a particular area or increase pressure on a particular area. The first thing I was doing was just kind of like my quads, and just like a regular foam roller, I think you can really effectively hit this area, kind of putting and dissipating a lot of dead weight on either the medial, lateral, or different positions of your quadriceps, and just kind of rolling nice and slow to kind of find maybe some like quote unquote trigger points or some tight spots you can kind of hold. Definitely your abductors, your inside of your medial leg or inside your thighs, those feel for me are always kind of a little sore and tender, so that felt really good. I could definitely hit these really well on this machine. Certainly the IT band and the side of your thigh, for a lot of people, if you're like a runner, you do a lot of cardio, that can be an area that's just tight, and just in most people, you could really hit that excellently on this thing. Hamstrings, surprisingly, were also really good. Hamstrings are kind of harder to hit foam rolling as far as at least on a traditional like basic foam roller, because it's hard to kind of get a little higher up to really increase some pressure. But definitely I felt this a lot more on the Total Gym as I kind of raised the incline and kind of rocked into certain positions. The same was for the glutes as well. I didn't dabble too much in the glute area. It wasn't really too sore here, but if you are someone that has like sore glutes, a lot of unique things, different positions you guys can get into. If you're someone who has sore calves in general, I would say the calves really shine on here, because I always find whenever I would do like applied myofascial release to somebody, people tend to have really sore, really tight calves, some so much so that it's even hard to even put a foam roller on it. But they always say if they're doing it to themselves, it's kind of hard to really hit. I think with the Total Gym and this foam roller attachment, you can do a lot of unique options like holding onto the cables, positioning yourself in certain ways. I actually found kind of doing like a slow kind of rocking motion back and forth using this roller was also a lot more conducive to working and hitting the calves. As for the back, you can really hit a variety of unique positions and isolate and kind of really dig into certain areas. I know a lot of people love just getting on a foam roller and kind of rolling back and forth to kind of like crack your back. Wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but you can definitely get into like some deep, spinal extension type moves. You can isolate your lats, even like to your low back, even really lower to like, back where your back meets your pelvis. That area feels really good. So the back area in itself just felt, I could kind of hang out there for a while if I really wanted to. I particularly really liked how I could really hit my triceps, also my biceps too, but even my lats. I can get in this position on here where I was surprised just how kind of tight and had these little trigger points on my triceps that I never really felt before. I know I never could do this on a regular foam roller, at least to kind of putting enough pressure on it, but it felt really good to kind of slowly roll back in my triceps and then to kind of fold over and kind of hang on my lats. I would kind of turn a little bit to kind of hit some sections there as well. That felt really good. I know this is not an exhaustive list of stretches and movements. Like I said, I can make a future video on that in more detail if you guys want. But honestly, this would probably be my go-to movements that I would do. And a lot of it is really subtle. And honestly, I don't think you can really pick it up or appreciate it on video to kind of see just the little nooks and crannies and areas that kind of you can really dig into as you're kind of moving around this foam roller. Now, as far as when to incorporate foam rolling, whether before or after a workout, there's kind of some debate on this area, honestly. I always say foam rolling is best maximized for those muscles that you just kind of feel tight. I always think of like runners in particular. They have certain tight, like they just feel like their IT band's tight or some parts of their quads are tight. I would say go ahead and definitely do that in the beginning. Certainly you could do some light foam rolling if you guys wanted to, but in general, you could save this towards the end of the workout. Foam roll first, then kind of go into your traditional static stretches. Or probably what I would most likely do, and I probably will do, as you guys saw here, I would just do kind of like a standalone foam rolling session. This felt really, really good. And like I said at the start of the video, after about 10 to 15 minutes doing this video, as you guys are seeing filmed here, I went back to my chair and sat down, and I just couldn't believe just how relaxed I really felt. So in summary, what I will say is that I actually think at this point, and I did not think I would say this, that foam rolling on a total gym is actually superior to traditional foam rolling. Like I said in the beginning, didn't think I would think that. I thought this would be maybe feel good on a certain few things, but honestly, in all the major areas that you guys saw me hit here is what I would normally foam roll if I was going to the gym or just in my house. I think this does a much better job at doing that. Mostly because it is so versatile, there's ways to adjust it. You can apply a lot more pressure on these mostly and really any area compared to like foam rolling on the ground. And also for that matter, if something's too tender or you want to get in a different position, adjusting the incline, even utilizing the glide board and these handles to kind of rock and push you into positions also makes it really effective. I would say the only downside, maybe limiting factor, is as you guys can see, some of these exercises might be a little awkward or kind of cumbersome to get into. So if you're kind of watching this thinking like, that's kind of rough for me to get into, I don't know if I can really maximize that, then yeah, that might be a limiting factor to really maximize its effectiveness. But I will say, if you are someone that maybe has like tighter areas like calves or even quads or just something else that you think you could do and this might be useful, I do think this would be one of the few things that actually really hit and dig into certain muscles more so than any other device that might be out there. And back to the beginning statement, I have no doubt this thing is built to last. I don't think this thing would break anytime soon. A lot of regular foam rollers that you get, even ones that are kind of dense foam, they will eventually wear. I don't know what kind of material this is. It's certainly not, it might be a really dense type of plastic or rubber. I don't know. With this thing, I do not see wearing out anytime soon. So I think you got a lot more life out of this than your basic traditional run-of-the-mill foam roller. This is one of the most innovative attachments I think Total Gym makes. I think I will go out and say this is probably the most underrated one because I had very low expectations for this. I didn't think I really would need it. Didn't think I probably would even use it. But if I'm gonna wanna foam roll anything in the future, I will be definitely jumping to this. So if this is you, if you think you're gonna use a foam roller, you're kind of thinking about picking up and you have a Total Gym, or if you just wanna maximize your stretching on a Total Gym, and really just open up some doors. Because I could see people just literally going to this thing and just almost maybe doing more foam rolling than actual Total Gym stuff, just because it does feel that good. So if it's not too obvious, I have nothing but really rave things to say about this thing. If you guys have any questions, comments, feedback, let me know. Certainly if you do foam rolling and you don't like it, obviously this thing's not for you. But if you're even kind of somewhat on the fence of using a foam roller or this thing, I would say it's definitely worth the $99. But that's it. As always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.